Good evening, everyone. So we are recording this session. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a short story right now. The main purpose and focus is to understand what is a good structure which lends to story making in such a way that you can add scenes after scenes. You can make any scene in the middle, the first scene, the third scene, the fifth scene, as complex as you want without shaking the entire story, right? You can really make it modular because Scratch in itself doesn't allow modular, right? Once you press a green flag, you cannot pause it. It goes till the end. But there are a lot of ways to work with modular stories. So that's what we'll focus on. So what I have done is I've created a new project. So to create a new project, I have just gone to scratch.mit.edu and clicked on create, right? So once I clicked on create, a new project would pop up with the Scratch cat, which I would delete. And then what I typically do, because I've been working with a lot of projects, I open my backpack. So can you all just quickly say how many of you have used backpack? You can just say it, don't type.
I've not used it, but I can see, I've seen it down there, but never used it.
Okay, it's one of the most...
Yeah, even I have not used.
It's one of the most convenient things to use. And there is a short 2-minute tutorial on backpack. You can watch it. So backpack is like our backpacks, and you can just keep items as you need and remove them and take out of it. So I've got lot of these favorite characters sitting there. So what I did, I just quickly dumped a few characters. Okay, I don't want to see this control. How do I get rid of it? Put it on top. Okay, good. So this is the sprite section area, right? So I've got these sprites. Now, to start the story, what I'm going to do, what typically a story needs, it needs a title. So what I've done is backdrop 1 is an empty backdrop which gets created as part of it, a new project. So I'm going to call it title, and I'm going to give it a name. Story of a farmhouse. A story in a farmhouse. Let's call it that. Okay. We can do a lot of visual aesthetic look things with it, but we will not focus on that right now. Okay. Just want to show that a title is there. Of course, the cover page eventually should look really, really beautiful. And then I have taken the first backdrop from the Scratch library itself. Okay. And I am renaming it to say it is my scene 1. So that is just very, very clear. Wherever I use it, I see, okay, this is my scene 1, because as the backdrops increase, 10, 12, 15 backdrops, it can, it reaches on an average, it can be those many for a story. Now, when I come to the backdrop code, anywhere, any sprite backdrop, anywhere in the code, please do not write any other code in the green flag clicked than 2 things. One is the first code will be your first thing that you want to show in the story. So for us, we are going to switch backdrop to title, the first thing. Then we will show it for about 5-6 seconds. And after that, we will switch backdrop to scene 1. Besides this switching backdrop to your first scene, right, we will not do any coding in when green flag clicked. And in all the sprites, make sure that you have this code. What is that code? When green flag clicked, hide. Because you do not want random objects to show up in the start of the story. So you want to make sure this piece of code is there. That's all you want to happen at a green flag. And the moment you keep mapping this to an actual drama or a play, you'll find it very easy and comfortable to understand this, right? When a play opens up, when a theater, screen curtain rises or announcement is made, the scene one is set on stage, right? Nothing else happens. People from scene 3 and scene 4 are not going to come and be on the stage, right? Nothing else will happen. That's the only thing will happen. So if we follow the same principle here, it is really simple. Now, once scene one has appeared, now you have to think what should happen. So now you again think of a play. When you're designing the play in the scene one, say you're showing a farm and you have put the props up there, you put a stage. And in this scene, you're showing that there is maybe one girl and one man in the scene. So on the stage, that's all you're going to have. Rest, all your characters, you're going to tell them they're going to stay in the green room behind the curtains, right? Like be wherever, but not on the stage. So that's what we follow. So you go to your characters, and so first we're going to come to the backdrop. So when you want to see the backdrop, you can go and click on the backdrop while we are coding it, so that we can place the people properly. Because that's another thing you would do in a drama, right? Like if you would tell the people that where they should be on the stage, whether they should be on the center of the stage, whether they should be on the side of the stage. If there's a prop being placed, the people who are helping with the props will know where to place the prop. So if this is the field we are using, I'm placing a house, okay? And I've written a little bit of code here. When backdrop switches to scene 1, farm 1, now I am showing this house. I placed it here. So I've set the size, I've done show, and I'll tell you why I've written this piece of code, because I also wanted to add a tree to it, because I want the scene to look alive. Right? So let's look at the code here. You can kind of start thinking through the code. You can say it aloud. So what we're going to do is we are going to switch backdrop to scene 1. And the first thing we want to do is give it a position so that it doesn't decide to do its own thing. So we give it a position. So to give it a position, once we have placed it here, it will pick up the right coordinates. And then we go to look and we say, you show yourself. Okay. Now, if you start this story and by mistake also you click on it. So I'm going to, by mistake also if you click, okay, I think the code got clicked. So if I do not have this code, sometimes it happens we click on it and by mistake the house will tend to be in front of the tree somewhere it look hanging. So this is a good piece of code to know about when you're dealing with a lot of sprites. So the house will always be hidden behind the tree. Now we want a few more objects. So let's take this old man here.
So Shweta, one thing that I didn't follow is when the flag is clicked, it's going to go to that slide which you said was the title slide. Mm-hmm. How would it move to this? What is the trigger to move to this?
Yeah, so there I have used a simple wait, and I'll make it just 2 seconds right now. So for the title scene, because we don't want, we are not having any action on it really. We are making a static title scene. So we are just showing the title scene. We are showing it for 2 seconds and we are moving it to our first scene. Okay. Because our action is starting on scene 1.
So you had the other thing which said flag and hide everything.
Yeah. So this
would you not be using that in this case?
Yeah. So this is a backdrop. We don't need to hide anything in the backdrop. There is no, if you look at look, there is no hide code in backdrop for look. Because the backdrop, once you choose which backdrop is, whichever the last switch backdrop is, that's what it will show.
Okay.
Okay. So again, map it to the story. If you are in, if the scene 1 is over, if once it is over, right? I know that this is my last dialogue. Okay. And then the props guys know that they have to come and set it up to scene 2. Now they come and set up scene 2. And then scene 2 starts. So whatever the last backdrop switches happen, that is what will show. And then the code will play.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So now the sprites, these sprites have the code we were talking about. So for instance, the house, we have said that when green flag clicked, you don't show yourself until, when we create the title page, we can make changes, but by default. And then when backdrop switches to scene 1, so we are telling the house that in scene 1, you as a character, you're required. So you come and you sit there and you how and you sit here, right? So you once, more or less your code is ready, you can start copying, pasting. So I will do that for the characters. So we will put these 2 pieces of code. We definitely almost want everywhere, right? Wherever we want. Now I'm going to make this guy stand here. Okay, so I'm going to go to motion and I'm going to set his position. So I want this character in scene 1. So he knows. I have told this sprite, I've told this character, Kaka, when scene 1 happens, you come and stand here. Okay, like in a drama, I would tell him. I'm exactly telling him here. And I'm telling this girl also that when backdrop switches to scene 1, you girl also come and, oops. See, this is what happened, right? I moved the tree. But because my tree code is nicely done, I can click on it and it will be back. Okay, now look at this. The girl is going back. I want the girl in front. So what am I going to do? Somebody?
Layer.
Go to front layer.
Yeah. Okay. So she pops in front. Okay, let's just make her nicely sit here. So this is a nice, our visual artist, Aprajita, she's drawn all these characters. So she's sitting here. So now let's just have a little dialogue between these 2 folks in scene 1, right?
Can we make that girl smaller? It's very, she's looking very big.
Sure, good observation. Is this okay?
Yes.
Shweta, all these characters are by default there, or you kind of added it yourself? Because when I was looking, I don't think I saw all these characters.
Yeah, they're not there.
Okay.
So we have created a Panchatantra programming digital library where we have created a lot of Indian relevant characters for our stories. So
will we have access to them?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, definitely. That's what we are here for, right? To make sure that everything is available for us to make good stories. Yeah, and they are available to everybody. Like any kid creating, they don't have to be just Panchatantra programmers, right? They can be any kid and they want to make good Indian stories, use them. It's good that they give credit and they say, credit to Panchatantra programming. That's a good thing to do. But yeah. But we always tell our children, if you're using any other sprite from anybody, give credit. If you're using any music, if you're using anything, give credit. Like we keep trying to inculcate that.
Great.
So I have one question. Library in our projects, like in our backpack, because my story is going to need a lot of Indian characters.
Yeah. So I have already shared that link to the studio. You people just haven't paid attention. So you go to it and then I'll show you in the end. I mean, we will need to meet more. Like it's just not possible to dump everything to you all in one go.
Right.
We may just confuse you all, right?
Yeah, because I got stuck there, like where should I get that? And I have just a couple of other questions. After you finish, I'll ask them.
Sure. Yeah. So now we are going to add the girl to the first dialogue. Okay, because she's going to do the first dialogue, that's the only reason I'm adding it to one backdrop switches to scene 1 my farm. Otherwise, I wouldn't add. She's going to do the first dialogue. So what I'm doing, okay, really ignore this. There are already a lot of sounds recorded here. So just ignore, okay? We'll just do a quick recording. Hello, Kaka. I can hear something outside. Can you also hear it? Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to call it Kaka. Can you hear? So that I know which dialogue it is. Just by recording 1, 2, 3, it's not possible for me to. Okay. So the girl is going to say this dialogue. Right now, we are not going to do talking animation. So she'll say the side dialogue. Now, her dialogue can be of any length. Okay. I'm not going to tell Kaka to wait for 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, because we could later go and re-record her dialogue, and it could give her a long dialogue. So imagine if the whole story was based on waiting number of seconds, it would be a mess. So what we're going to do is use broadcasts. So I'm going to just broadcast a new message, and I'll say, same thing I'll say, Kaka, can you hear? So when you broadcast a message, anybody can receive it and act on it, right? So I'll come to the Kaka, and here I'm not putting anything on this. Instead, I'm putting, when I receive, Kaka, can you hear? And he's going to say something. Yes, beta, I can hear some clouds. Okay, sorry for being a bad Kaka, but I do want to be fast right now. Okay, you're not going to do this, okay? You're going to have proper people record dialogues for you. Okay, so that's another thing. When you're when the teams are going to be building stories, you don't want them to be recording dialogues that time. The screenplay is ready from before. They have identified who is recording whose dialogues. So they have recorded dialogues, and then they start building the animation. Otherwise, it's too much chaos. Okay. So, okay, so I didn't give the name of the recording. So I just do that. I'm coming to sounds, and I'm saying, I can hear the clouds. Okay. So in terms of dialogues right now, that's all we are going to do. Just that these two people have spoken, exchanged one dialogue each. Now, in this scene...
Shweta, yes. Where was the broadcast thing? Was it in looks?
So the broadcast was when the girl finished her dialogue. Yeah?
Right. So
if you imagine, again, coming back to the play...
No, so my question was that an event? So that broadcast was an event. Okay,
yes,
fine.
Yes, here.
And
yeah.
So broadcast is like passing a global variable.
Yes, it's passing a global message. Yeah, you can say it's passing a global variable, right? So just coming back to the play, if we are three of us acting in the scene one, we would look at each other, we would know each other's dialogue, so that only when you finish, I speak. And if I've never practiced with you, I may just end up speaking anywhere in middle, right? So here we use broadcast to make sure that the dialogues are well synchronized. So now, yeah, once this is done, now this scene should be really, really alive. And this is where a whole lot of animation will come in, but it doesn't have to happen in the first go, right? In the first go, the basic story structure can be created. Like at this point, so we will come back. So what I'm going to do is let's go to the second scene, do a little bit there, and then come back and develop the scene one. So that you know that anytime we should be able to come back to any scene and develop it further without breaking our story, right? So now if you look at this, look at a play, if we have 5 characters in the first, like 3 characters in the first scene, we have to know who is the last character, and only then the scene should be changed. Like if after this, the scene is inside the house, we should not have the first person finish the dialogue and the prop guy comes and changes to the inside the house. I mean, imagine the other characters will be like, "Arey, mera dialogue to baki hai," right? So that mess should not happen. And this is the most common problem, which generally people make, new coders would make. Okay, so if we have to know who is the last dialogue, and what you do is avoid putting switch backdrop anywhere in the characters, because once you start to troubleshoot and you have 50 characters here, nobody remembers where it is. So instead, what we would do, we would set here broadcast scene 1 over. Okay, so right now Kaka is doing and saying scene 1 over, but suppose I come here, add a few more other things, I can just make that broadcast scene 1 over, right? And I'm coming back to backdrop. It's not that the code will not work if that person switches backdrop. It is just, it's very easy. I come here, I say that, sorry, when I receive, scene 1 over. Then I'm going to switch backdrop to the next backdrop, which we do not have right now. So let's pull the second backdrop. In fact, I think I have something in my backpack.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I noticed that the code that you were writing, that there was a background, there was a background backdrop which was actually very close to the margin, and there were the other two pieces of code were a little away from the margin. So is that kind of like a nested loop or something?
Okay, I'll have to go back for me to understand your question. Okay,
yeah.
Which code?
So yeah, could you just scroll up? Yeah.
This code?
Yeah, just scroll up. Yeah. So the thing is, I'm able to notice that the backdrop was actually very close to the margin on the left, and the other pieces of code are away from the margin.
Like here, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it doesn't matter. This entire coding section
can
be used to write code. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so it's not like you know how it's in Python, right? Like the indentation really matters in some languages.
Yeah, very good question. No, there is no indentation. And that's why people end up writing crazy code. And then what I tell them to do cleanup blocks. So it arranges it all in one nice order. But it's not the best thing to do, because it's good sometimes to have a few things on the right, like, close to, like when background switches to scene 1, and if there's more things happening in parallel, I would just put it right to it or just below it.
Yeah, and also another question is, it's a typical computer science question. It's like, so when we have a large block of code and you want to go over it very quick, is there a provision to write comments?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So we do that for a lot of coding assignments we make. I just put questions here and leave it to the children to make. So that's how I use it mostly.
Okay.
Okay. So, so we were.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're working on the second backdrop. So I pulled up like just an empty room because I wanted to show the room inside the village. So I'm calling it inside room. Okay. So in the seconds now in this, when I receive scene 1 is over. So our second scene is scene 2 inside room. Okay. So that's what we are showing. Now inside room, which all characters are there? Let's look at that. So in scene 2, say this guy is there. So now everybody knows, right? Which event am I going to use? Anybody? We are in scene 2. We are going to show inside the room. Okay. And we do not obviously want the tree and the house inside the room. So what are we going to do?
Ma'am, you just hide both of them.
Yes.
You change when scene 2, hide all characters inside this thing.
Right. So I'm going to hide the house and the tree. Okay. So, and I don't want these people also there. So I'm just first hiding everybody. Oops. Okay. Okay. So now I want this guy inside the code. So what should I say here? When backdrop switches to scene 2, and now scene 2, he's going to show up, right? So first I click on him and then decide where I want to show him and what are the costumes I have. So let me see if there is a sitting costume. Okay, so I'm going to just make him sit here and do something, and then later on we can give him some stuff to do. Okay, so PP man's sitting. So what I'm going to do, I also going to make sure that the costume is set. Okay, and position, of course. So this is something, these are called, like we do init in any program. These are your initial settings. If we miss initial settings, next time it is possible that your characters can be anywhere, any costume. But later on, in any other scene, you may have set them to be something different. And Scratch retains that the next time you run. Okay, so these are very important settings. It's hard to make people realize until the story starts to mess up. So it's okay. I've learned to accept that. The children will not do it until until they find it completely messed up, right? So this is scene 2. Now scene 2, he's sitting nicely smiling, he's doing something, and we can show that all that animation. And then we want to show that after maybe something has happened here, and then maybe the girl comes in and says it's raining. Okay, now that means I don't want the girl to come as soon as the scene 2 changes, right? I want the girl to come in after some time. So what do I do for that?
Wait.
No, because how long will she wait? How will we know? So we make sure that whatever work happens here, at some point, there will be an event, right? At some point, there will be an event which will say, you know, whatever that work is done, and either you can say girl come in, or you can say the previous event got over. But right now we are not coding that. So we'll say girl come in. Now for temporary basis, I will do what you said. So I will just wait for 2 seconds, but this is not what's going to happen. There is going to be some animation, and at the end of it, we'll broadcast girl come in. Is that clear? Is that clear? This is only temporary. Temporary wait. Is this clear to everybody?
Ma'am, can't you do broadcast? Can't you do broadcast girl come in and wait, and then once all the commands with girl come in are over, then only it'll move on to the next step, right? That's how it works if memory serves.
Yeah, so we can do that. It is just that then you have to make sure that you come back to that thread, that everything it is over, you come here. That is one way to do it, but that's not the only way to do it. Yes.
And we want to wait before the girl comes in. So there has to be some event before that, not after she comes in.
Yeah, we are like, there's some stuff happening which I'm missing right now. I'm not coding it up. I just want to show that at some point a girl will come in. So the girl to come in, we are saying when I receive girl come in, now I'm going to, I can maybe duplicate this code. Oops, I don't want this play sound. I don't want this. And I'm going to position her coming from here somewhere. So I want the standing costume, right? So I'm going to switch costume where she is standing. Yeah, okay. And she's facing that side. Okay, she's facing that side. So what I will do, I will use, I'll go to motion, and I will use point in direction -90. So she turns this side, yeah? Is that okay? And okay. I will put the motion, that is where she's supposed to be. So now she comes in and she can walk. See, I already have the code for her walking, right? So I can just use a loop as many ever times as I want her to walk. So I'm kind of assuming that some code you'll be able to easily figure out. So I'm saying, I've written a coding block called me walking. So should we just watch the story till here?
Yeah, can you just show, Shweta, can you move up a bit and show the block, that subroutine that's called me walking, please?
Okay. Yeah, I will show you. Now, one sec, before I show you, do you see I played the story and the girl is standing here?
Yeah.
You know what happened?
Because we didn't hide when green flag clicked.
No, that's not the problem. We did hide her when green flag played. Because in scene 1, we did not set her costume. You see that? So she was standing in the second scene. Here we wanted her to sit, correct?
Yes, got that, yeah.
So, see, this is where all the problems start to happen. If we miss anything, the next time when we play and then we're like, oh, everything is broken. No, it's just that we missed a few things. So we missed 2 things here. We missed her position also. Okay, I really don't want the dialogues. Okay. So we missed the position also. And immediately you saw it messed up our story. Okay. So now let's play it again and see it's okay. And then we look at the me walking code. Okay, so here, of course, so we have to see how much we wanted to walk, where we wanted to stop. Now, if we see her me walking code, it can definitely be improved, like the left leg in front, the right leg in front. So all that work will needed to be done. So this is the me walking code. So this is, oh, actually the code is, the costumes are not there at all. Do you see? So there's only one costume of her walking. There is, to show a walk, you have to show left leg forward and then right leg forward, correct? So we don't have that. So in fact, because I just mishmashed the costumes and the code. So yeah, this is me walking. So how does me walking work? How does any animation work in Scratch, right? You just physically do it and see how it should happen, or you visualize, and then you change costumes for it. That's one of the ways for costume-based animation to work. The other one is, of course, movement-based. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to duplicate her, and we'll have to actually make her walking happen. So if you can see, these legs are all designed in such a way, and we won't do it now. That's a separate tutorial to show you that how to make her walk, and then how to do her costumes, and then use those costumes here so that the legs walk. So right now, this is not a working code. Okay, Kunj? Kunj?
Yes, noted. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a working code right now. Okay. Now we've reached till here. Some more people can come and more dialogue can happen. And then eventually, whoever is the last person, what will they say of the scene? Does anybody want to repeat? What will they broadcast? The last person in the scene 2.
Scene over?
Yes. So they will say scene 2 over. Just don't say scene over. Otherwise, you're like,
yeah,
scene over.
Whatever the scene was, yeah.
Yeah. So say scene 2 over and then come here and say, when I receive scene 2 over, switch backdrop to scene 3. Okay. So you have a very clear scene by scene code here. There should be no confusion. Like even if it becomes 10 scenes, 15 scenes, there will be never confusion if you follow this kind of structure. Now we want to work on the scene 1. So let's go back to our scene 1, because that's what I wanted to show you all. So this is scene 1. And now so 2 ways to do is that you can just go and play the code, or, so I'll just play it right now. And I'll tell you the other way, very nice way to do it. Can you see switch backdrop here? You just choose the scene you want to start with and you click on it. That scene will start. Can you see?
Yes. Yeah.
So this is one of the biggest trips to work with your scenes, because imagine you're in scene 5, you can't keep playing the story from the beginning. So what you have to do is you can go and do it. It's just that, yeah, these kind of things may happen if you have not hidden your characters. So you can just press green flag click, because we know we have hidden all our characters in green flag. And then we can just click on which backdrop we want. You'll have to practice a little bit, but you kind of get it to what I did, the trick.
So I have a question here. So when we are switching backdrops, would it be a good idea to hide all the characters that we don't want in the next scene?
That's actually, it's a very good idea if we can tell every character that this
Yeah.
scene you are present. If you're present, do this.
Show, and not then hide.
And if you're not in the scene, you hide. That is the best practice.
Correct.
But everybody doesn't follow the best practice, and especially if the character is not needed, so we forget about it.
Yeah, I struggled with that a lot in the afternoon today. So finally, I learned my lesson.
That is the biggest problem. Yes.
Okay. I have a question. So in the second, you know how we made the girl walk from the right to the left? So the thing is, this is, I wanted to ask if suppose we want to make her move in a particular path. Like, do we have to pre-draw a certain path, like from a line from right to left, and just so that, the girl walks along that line? Is there any code for that?
Okay, so the coordinates in Scratch work like this. I don't know if you all seen it. So if this is your XY axis, in the center is 0, 0. Okay, and everything is geometry based. So the walking, if we use the simple move or change X and Y, it will only follow that math. It's a math. If you want them not to follow a simple math and you want to give your own, like, diagonal, you can do mathematics and do it, right? If you don't even want to follow a geometry, like if there's no math equation you can apply there, then you just keep giving positions. So that means you say that, okay, you have to be in a sprite. So let's come to that girl. So then what you have to do is you have to go to XY. You make a little bit of walks, then you change the position, and then you make change. So that can be done. That is done a lot of times in the stories when you want them to move in a certain way. But otherwise, just...
Yes. Yeah. So imagine the girl walks, instead of walking right to left the whole way, if she just walks from right to left for half the distance and then she jumps. Okay. So we'll have to have the right coordinate, the place where she jumps, she goes up and she comes back down on the same coordinates, right?
Yes. So that is actually pretty simple. So if you look at this girl's code, so girl comes in, so she walks. Let's just first reduce this because she walked too much. So she walks 6 loops, okay? And then we want her to jump. So to jump, basically, we want the Y coordinate to change, right? So we are going to make her jump up by Y. And anybody who jumps up by gravity has to come down. So we make her come down. Now what you have to do, you have to realize is that if we just put this code, we won't even observe anything. Okay, you know why? Because our eyes cannot perceive at the speed at which this executed. So we have to put a weight. So we put a weight of 0.2.
Okay, I get it.
And did you see? She jumped?
Yep.
So you can just make her jump as high as you want. So that's the jumping code. And if you want her to keep jumping, you put it in the repeat loop. Yeah?
Okay.
Any other specific things like this? Yeah, you can. You all can ask now. The basic structure, is that clear? I do want to show a little more animation and we'll come back to it. But is the basic structure very clear? I mean, is that like how scene by scene you can think a story and Scratch, like actual drama play and a story making in Scratch? Is that mapping absolutely clear?
Yes. Yeah, and this is very clever way to attach the story.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and I mean, children have created very complex stories using this method. So it works really well. I can, kind of by experience tell you that. Like children get it so well. Once they get it, they do it. Okay. So now I wanted to add a little more animation to this scene. Let's add some crows. So let me start from here. So I'm clicking here. Can you see my browser window?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so since I use this a lot, so I just type PP Digital Library Studio. I didn't even have to remember it because I open it so many times. So of course you'll have this URL. So I'm opening the PP Digital Library Studio. Okay, this is how it looks like. So we've got a few studios and we will keep adding more. In fact, we have been meaning to have all children contribute their sprites to this studio so that we have it together. So you can see there are a lot of these characters. They are not very detailed characters. These are very detailed characters like side view, sitting view, chair sitting view, cross-legged sitting view, you know, the grandparents, the young adults, the children. Amazing, very, very deep characters. Then you have indoor objects, then you have outdoor objects, the mango tree and stuff, and then we have random objects which we keep creating, like the house, which we just used. And this is a lot, because in our first project, we did create some Panchatantra stories. So this has a lot of animals and stuff. So I'm going to open this right now so that we can take a crow from here, and so that you can see what kind of stuff you have. Because, you know, in any story, to make a scene come alive, it's good to have all these things. And we will also use the regular butterflies and stuff which are in the sprite library. So, you know, since many of you had this question, I'll give you a glimpse of both. So you can see this is, you know, which has many remakes and makers stories and enjoys storytelling. So we have just asked credits. So these are our people who helped us. She's our main artist volunteer who's been helping us. You all will get to see her. They'll be getting added to our volunteer group by Saturday or Sunday. Okay, so we've got this huge library, and because I'm going to click on this. Can you see here the two icons? So I'm clicking on this so that this becomes smaller, but you can see more sprites and you can scroll. Yeah? Okay. So see, we've got a swan. We've got a lot of animals. So let's take this crow. It's a very nice design crow. And see, you can, you know, it's like all kind of costumes, see, flying costume. I know I don't know how many of you saw the one scene animation. I think we have used this there, right? In that, have we?
Yes, I did. Yes, yes. This one is there, the swan is there, and the butterfly, and a frog.
So you saw what I did. I came here, I opened my backpack, and I just dropped it here. Can you see it's in my backpack now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now what I will do, I'll go back to our project, which is this one. I will open the backpack again. You do need to refresh it. So the crow is here. So I'm going to just drop the crow here. Yeah. So the crow is here. Now, of course, until we want it in the first scene, I'm going to copy the code when green flag clicked, hide. So we don't want it in the beginning, but we do want it in the first scene. So we're going to just show it. And what size we want? 80, 70, whatever, right? Like aesthetically, of course, those revisions should be made. It's important. Now, costume we wanted to set because I want to show it sitting first. So we are going to set the costume. Don't forget. Sorry, don't remember me. Remember to set. Yeah. And now what we would want it to do is we would want it to glide and maybe go sit somewhere behind there, right? So motion has one more thing called glide. So if I wanted to glide here, I need to know this position, right? So what I'm going to do, or let's just make it glide, go sit on top of the house. So first I will go and make it sit here. So now you will see this X and Y is picked up by this glide. So I will drag it here. So now when I click on this code, it will go trip. Okay. But I don't want it to just go like this. I want it to fly. Does anybody want to help me write that flying code?
Yes, what we can do. First, we need one loop.
So first, which event do we need, Lakshmi? Same event again.
Yes.
Because we want the glide and this to happen in parallel, right? So we need the same event again. Okay. And then we look at the costumes. Yes. So these two costumes we will use. D and E. Yes, sorry, Lakshmi, continue. So you were saying we'll go to the...
Yes, first we'll switch to one costume.
Okay,
then
just hold on. Yeah, just hold on. Yes. So first we will switch to one costume. So we recognize D and E. So we will make it D.
Yeah, then wait for, just wait for 1 second. Make it at 0.2 or 0.5.
Okay.
Then switch to next costume.
So I'm going to just duplicate these 2 lines of code.
Yeah, and the whole 4 lines should be put in a repeat loop until we want this row to fly.
Yeah, so let's try this. So now see, I want both these coding blocks to work. So if I click on one, only one will happen. So what do? I come here and I click on this.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, scene 1. I had to make it scene 1. Sorry. So did you all see the crow flew?
This is quite fast. So maybe the crow flow is, the
crow glide for 5 seconds.
Yeah, and we can increase the glide also. Let's make it 3 seconds. So it's gliding and then it will go in. Okay, now you see what is the problem happen and how do we fix it? Okay, troubleshooting time. Did you see it didn't go to sit? You want to tell?
Yeah, it's due to repeat. Maybe because of that, it is moving away from the position where the crow is supposed to sit.
So what should we do?
You need to specify the position where it needs to sit.
So the position we have specified here in the glide code. So basically, see, this is going longer than this. This is one thing. And the other thing is that we want finally after the crow finishes flying, what costume do we want it in? The sitting costume, right? So maybe this one, crow B. So we definitely want a switch costume to be here. And because we are seeing this is longer, so either we reduce this repeat or we increase this glide.
Yes.
That's the simple synchronization problem solved solution. So see, now it was okay, right?
But then it is Can you move it to down so that it will look exactly sitting on the top of that house? Yes.
Right. So here we will change the coordinates.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Can somebody now say what else can bring life to the scene? What should we do? We talked about clouds here. So what do you all say? What should we show? Should we show clouds?
I mean, sure, ma'am, but couldn't you just leave the clouds in the background? Unless you want the clouds to actually be doing something in the story, wouldn't it be better to just find a background with clouds and then leave it with that?
Sure, we can have clouds in the backdrop. Absolutely, we can do that. We can go to the backdrop and paint some clouds here. That is one part. But then we want the clouds to be getting darker and coming closer. Like what is in the backdrop is not going to be animation, right? But wouldn't it be more fun when the clouds actually coming closer and turning black?
Yeah.
So, see, as a storyteller with every scene, if we don't develop the scene, as I said, in the first phase, not required. But once the story is built, if we don't do this, then the story will look pretty flat. But these nuances will make all the difference. So let's take, there is a boring cloud, but let's use it for now. There is a cloud in Scratch library. Okay, so let's take, here it is. Yeah. So what you said, what we can do is we can just copy the cloud and we can even put it in the backdrop here, which is the static part. And give it some better design and stuff, right? So let's say we put, okay. If we want to do more work with backdrops, we would do it in the vector mode because now these get just stuck here. But I want to show the darker clouds are moving in. Any ideas on how to make the cloud turn darker? There are 2-3 ways we can do it.
You can change the color or you can change the brightness.
Yes, thank you for that. So there's something called change color and brightness here. Okay, so if you just play with this code, can you all see the cloud color changing?
Ma'am, the tree. There it is.
You all can see it?
Yeah, yeah.
So see, when I did a plus 25, you will see it is turning white and white and white. If I'm changing the effect by minus, it's turning darker and darker. So when there are sprites, we can slowly show the clouds are turning black and not this black maybe, and they are all coming in, right? Like when we see the clouds, they started to come in, float in. So you can gradually just glide them in a little bit like, okay, this is too black. So let me just make it. Yeah. So let's keep this here and let's show it floating it and coming here. Okay. So initially we'll show it here. So quickly, who will help me code? Somebody who hasn't been helping so far? Because eventually from tomorrow you're going to be introduced. So let's do a little bit of practice.
Set the position, the initial position of the cloud.
Yes. So when backdrop switches to scene 1, we will, where did a cloud go? Oh, it hid because I clicked on hide. So sorry, let me just bring it on. Yeah. So I can then take the position.
Yeah.
And then we will glide it till here.
Yeah, note down the position of this and then select the glide.
Yeah. So I can say glide 5 because while they're talking, it can just kind of glide in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is where I won't really have any of these clouds in the backdrop because we want all of them to start darkening, right? Mm-hmm. So it's 10 o'clock, so I'm not going to show you that code today, but we can easily do cloning code. So what we would do is we would just take one cloud and there is this clone here. How many of you old scratchers have used clone before?
I have, ma'am.
Yeah. So what we can do is we can just make 3-4 clones of clouds and give them a different size, give them a different brightness, and they can be just floating around. And suddenly, this scene where they were just sitting and one dialogue each, this will come alive and add, a few more birds on the ground, or stuff like that. So I'm going to stop the recording now. How do we do that? Stop.